Alright guys, we're here with some matches for the non-black Search for Azcanta multicolor control deck. This is a mulligan, only one land is not enough. This is 3 lands, all of our colors, a removal spell, a blind obedience, and a tutor. So we're going to keep that. We want more lands, so we'll keep plains on top. We're going to play the Wooded Foothills so that we have Lightning Bolt available and pass the turn. Okay, so it looks like we're playing against a combo deck. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and lose the plains on top of our library. We need a Sacred Foundry to have all of our colors. We'll bolt this. Looks like we're playing against Primeval Titan Amulet deck. Is the only deck in Modern that plays both of these cards. So we will be... Blind Obedience will actually be good here because it will prevent them from attacking us with a hasty Primeval Titan, even if they can get the right lands to make that happen. Okay. Oh, that's funny. This will actually counter it. I didn't realize this worked on creatures. Okay, so Blind Obedience is not going to really do anything in this match because they have the Amulet of Vigor. Let's go ahead and play a second Blind Obedience, even though it doesn't do anything besides extort. So we will have to figure out what to do with this tutor that we're probably casting next turn. We could get a Detention Sphere for their Amulet. If they play a second one, I'll definitely do that. Tireless Tracker makes me think I might want Supreme Verdict. Yeah, I think Supreme Verdict is what I'm looking at here. And then we'll have to get another white source. So let's go ahead and do that now. Get Hallowed Fountain so that we can start setting up for the Manamo Azcanta play when we eventually get that. And then we're going to demand a Supreme Verdict and pay for 1 extort trigger. So we have Supreme Verdict. Next turn we can play the Verdict, but we won't be able to extort unless we draw a white source, because the Supreme Verdict requires double white mana. But that will get both of these guys off of the board and any other creature that he plays. My expectation is he doesn't play any because he knows about the Supreme Verdict. He might have something like an Azusa, which would give him a benefit on this turn that he might choose to play. So we're going to take a big chunk of damage here. And he has a full hand of cards because of the Tireless Tracker. Okay, that's a good card to have without him knowing about it. So if he plays a Primeval Titan or something here, we do have an answer for it. I would much prefer to have like a Path to Exile, but if we have to use another Verdict, I'm fine with that. Their deck doesn't actually have a ton of reasonably efficient creatures. We've already killed half of their scouts, and they probably don't run a full 4 Tireless Trackers. So from here on, we're going to be worried more about large threats like Primeval Titan. We may be dead here. I haven't played against this deck for a while, so I'm iffy on the math. They do already have the Slayer's Stronghold. So it's mostly a matter of how many Boros garrisons they have. So there's a Vesuva to copy the garrison. So here's 8, which is short of lethal. If they attack and can get the double strike land, which they probably can, then we're dead. So we're just going to see if they have it or if it's stuck in their hand or something. Notice we're ahead on clock, so it doesn't really cost us anything just to check and make sure they have it. So it looks like there is no double strike, so we're actually going to get to untap and clear the Primeval Titan. And then notice they have 8 cards in hand. We are by far not stabilized. Teleria West for walk. Okay. That's cute. I didn't realize they were running that. Okay. So I'm going to bring in Teferi's Moat here to keep Primeval Titan from attacking. I'm going to bring in both Blessed Alliance and take out... Well, I guess we need to kill the small guys. So we're going to take out Muddle the Mixtures. We're going to take out Negate. Negate does have targets, but most of those targets we can hit with Destructive Revelry. The exception would be Summoner's Pact. So this is 60, so it's just we're going to decide if we want negates or squelches over anything that's currently in the deck. Bant Charm kills Primeval Titan. I think we can probably use negate over the Firemind's Foresight. Foresight is very slow, and this is not a matchup where slow stuff is going to matter. Sphinx's Revelation we can cast for 1 or 2x, and it's going to do something. So this is a reasonable hand. We have Search for Azcanta, we have all of our colors, and we also have a Path to Exile and a Blessed Alliance. So we can use the Path to Exile on an early Tireless tracker, and then we'll still have Blessed Alliance available for a later Primeval Titan. They're mulliganing to 5. That's fine for their deck. They're really looking for a few key pieces. They want to find Amulet, some bounce lands, maybe some acceleration. And that's all they really need early on. Yeah, so they have Amulet, so they mulligan to probably a decent hand. I am going to fetch a basic island and get the Search for Azcanta into play. We don't want to tap out too much after this turn because they can develop a board very quickly and go for a kill. So we're going to play Search, and then we're going to try and hold up at least Path to Exile from now on. With 2 Amulets in play, it is tempting to supply and demand for Detention Sphere and lock both of those out because they can make so much mana. But I think because they can make so much mana, we really can't afford to tap out. So let's go ahead and see what's this on top. We have 4 lands, so I'm going to keep the Supreme Verdict. So we'll draw that. We'll play a Windswept Heath. And then I'm just going to, well, no, I'm going to go ahead and pass the tracker now so they can't get a bunch of clue tokens. Clue tokens were a big part of how they beat us last game. They were able to draw, I believe, 4 or 5 extra cards. So I'm willing to give them a mana in exchange for not letting them have several clues. Notice if we had pathed during their main phase, that's actually an acceleration spell for them because of the amulets. It's probably not doing anything in their upkeep. It would just give them 1 land. But I just want to get that thing out of there. No clues for them. So we'll go ahead and sack this. I think we want a Temple Garden so that we have our 2nd white for Supreme Verdict. And then we'll see what we show off of Search for Azcanta. opponent might have a naturalized effect that they're thinking about using here. I think it's unlikely that that's the case, but this is suspicious timing. I think it would be incorrect to do it right now. If they do have like some sort of destroy for this, they should let me resolve the trigger and see. So supply demand is interesting. Demand is basically any card we want except for the cheap removal, but it costs us time. So I'm going to put it into the graveyard. So then we draw a land. So we have an interesting decision. If we want to play Blessed Alliance for 2 modes, then we'll need the 4th land and we should play the Windswept Heath. If we don't, we can play the Steam Vents and get that into play. I'm going to go ahead and play the Steam Vents tapped and then pass. I think we won't need to gain the 4 life and kill a creature on this turn. The only way that would happen is if they somehow got Primeval Titan into play, which they can do. They have enough mana because of the Amulet of Vigors, but they would have to naturally have drawn it in their 3 cards. Okay, so they do have Primeval Titan. They're going to go fetch up the haste and +2/+0 land and attack. So what's going to happen here is they're going to have all the lands and all the mana that they want, but we are going to kill this Primeval Titan. It's possible that they will have a counter spell, like Pact of Negation. And if that's the case, then we probably take a lot of damage. It might not be lethal. It's going to be 8, maybe 16. But they'll have to have a Walking Ballista to finish us off if that's the case. I wonder if they're playing a second Primeval Titan. So they can transmute. Yeah, it looks like they're going to transmute for Summoning Pact and then go get a second Primeval Titan. I think they can attack with both of them, but it still won't be lethal if we kill one. That's interesting that they wouldn't attack at all. Yeah, they've already used a Summoning Pact, so we're going to put Negate in the graveyard. So what we can do is tutor for a Detention Sphere and still hold up Blessed Alliance for 1 Primeval Titan. We don't want to take any more damage from our lands because 6 turns into 8, turns into 16 is their lethal number. So we want to be able to survive a hit from a double strike hasted Primeval Titan. So we're going to get a basic here. We're going to yeah, I think we just want to demand a Detention Sphere here. We do have Supreme Verdict as an option. So let's get our sphere. Next turn, we will have 7 mana available if we take damage from our Stomping Ground, which I prefer not to do because the Azcanta is going to transform. So he has to pay for the Pact, which is this 4 mana right here. I misunderstood what was going on last turn. He actually did not cast the Summoner's Pact yet. He only transmuted for it. So I should have kept the negate. That's a major misplay on my part. So we're going to get attacked by both of these Primeval Titans. Yeah, I think not putting negate on top of the library cost us this game. So we don't have a way to completely kill all of his creatures, so we're going to let him resolve all of these land effects. This deck is not really equipped to handle decks like this or Ad Nauseam because they appear fairly rarely online. And it is equipped to handle Storm, which is the common online combo deck. I think we're just dead here. Yeah, I want to wait so that he can split his pump effects if he wants to do that, because I think that's the only way we survive this turn. If we let him make this a 10 and double strike it, then we just die. Okay. So he gave double strike to the smaller one and doesn't have a way to untap that land, so now we can do this. And we can F6. Okay, so he did have the Pact of Negation anyway. So negate would not have done anything that game. So let's go ahead and jump in another one. Play against White Thunder. I don't think that's the same person we just played against. We're going to mulligan this, no lands. This is 2 lands, most of our colors, and some early plays, so we'll keep this. And we want to land on the top. That's not ideal, but it's good enough. So we'll go ahead and draw that with Serum Visions. And we want to find another... I'm going to bottom both of these. We want to find another color of mana. Okay, so this is not the same guy, at least not the same deck. They're probably on Grixis Death Shadow. That's another color of mana. We'll go ahead and play Blind Obedience. So let's wait and see what else they start to do as they're developing their board. So here's a Scalding Tarn. Probably fetch red mana. Then I don't expect them to play anything. They might play a Delver if they're not Death Shadow, if they're on a Delver type list. Interesting, a second Watery Grave. So maybe they're not Grixis Death Shadow. We will wait and see. It looks like Death Shadow, but I would have expected them to get a red source. Okay. I'm going to fetch a Stomping Ground here. And pass. Mulligans into Thoughtseize are usually pretty rough. If we can draw another Lightning Bolt and they tap out, then we just kill them, but I don't think that's likely. We don't actually have another Lightning Bolt, we just have a Burst Lightning. Okay. I guess we should have fetched on his turn. Yeah, we're just dead here. So we're going to go ahead and bring in quite a bit of removal. We're going to bring in the moats for black creatures. We're going to bring in the Blessed Alliances. We're going to take out the Revelry. I think it has absolutely 0 targets. We're going to take out... Negate is interesting. We could leave it in. They do have targets, but they're running cheaper counterspells than we are, so I don't really want to play that game. We could bring in relics, but I don't think that's ideal. I'm going to take out Electrolyze. It only kills Snapcasters and pressures Planeswalkers. I kind of want relics. But it does hurt our Azcanta plan. I'll take out 1 Blind Obedience and 1 Muddle for 2 relics. So this hand is fine. It has all the colors. It has some early spells. It would be better if it had a Path to Exile or a Blessed Alliance, but we at least can tutor for a Supreme Verdict. So we're going to let him put something in his graveyard, and the next turn we'll play Serum Visions and Relic. We could also play Search. We'll see if he Thought Seizes us. I expect them to do so. Thought Seize or Inquisition. Okay, no, it's a Serum Visions. So we actually might want to search. Yeah, I'm going to play Search for more filtering because I don't want to draw any more lands in the near future. I want to draw primarily removal spells. The only exception would be a white source for Supreme Verdict. Okay, so now they have the Thoughtseize, but we already have Search in play. My guess is they take Relic. And they do take Relic. Alright. So we will always yield to Azcanta. We will put Opt into the graveyard. Let's Serum Visions first. See what we can get into. If this is a removal spell, I'm obviously not going to tap out my white. So we found the Supreme Verdict. We're going to bottom Azcanta, top Alliance, play Mountain, play Blind Obedience, and pass. So now we do need to draw that second white source. Is this a counterspell? I'm absolutely fine with the counterspell. Blind Obedience is not doing anything for several more turns. Like, it does pressure their life total, but they're still at 11. They can control what they pay life for. Okay, I actually want him to take Supreme Verdict here because we don't have a way to cast it. And we do have a way to find a Detention Sphere, something we can cast. If they play a Death Shadow and pass, then this smells like another Stubborn Denial. Gurmag Gangler and pass, same thing. We're going to keep the Blessed Alliance. We're going to draw that. I don't think they play Spell Pierce. I think it's just Stubborn Denial. So we are going to tap out completely for both modes on this. One reason we're playing Blessed Alliance is that you can make the opponent gain 4 life and that can kill Death Shadows. But because they're already at 7, we can't put them up over 13. So it would just be giving them free life to possibly shrink a future Death Shadow, which I'm not interested in doing. Gaining 4 life is basically the same effect as making their threats slightly smaller temporarily. But if they have things like Snapcasters or other Gurmag Anglers, then it's more effective. Okay, so we will discard Supply and Demand and put Serum Visions into the graveyard to look for more lands. We're going to transform Azcanta, draw another Supply Demand. So let's go ahead and look at our deck list and see if there's any 2-drops we want to tutor for. There's not because we took out Revelry. So I am actually going to make some Saprolings. The opponent is at 7, so these are lethal in 2 hits plus any life effect. They're also really good blockers for Death Shadows and Gurmag Anglers unless they're running the version with Temur Battle Rage. So there's a Death Shadow. They don't want to pay life because of the Saprolings, so those are doing work. We're going to use this. I'm going to get an untapped land. I'm not sure whether I want a Steam Vents or a Breeding Pool. Probably Steam Vents. I might have wanted a second white, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. We're going to look for an answer to Death Shadow. So it would probably be Path to Exile. And we hit the Path to Exile. We're going to go for that and see if they have a counter. They don't, or they choose not to use it. So this is going to give them a land, and we're going to start getting in damage. So 3 Saprolings attack. Opponent should go to 4. They now cannot afford to pay life for things like Street Wraith, because that would be instantly lethal if they don't find something to do. A single blocker still doesn't let them pay life because we have 3 guys getting in. This looks like a Gurmag Angler. So that's fine. We'll look for another way to get damage in. So we could take a Supply and Demand here, make more Saprolings next turn. We can take one of these 2 removal spells. Bant Charm counters instants, so I think I'm going to go for that. Then we're going to attack with everybody. They will block 1 and take 2 damage. And I'm going to play another Search for Azcanta. Teamer Battle Rage doesn't kill us here. They can only do 10 damage. Double Strike multiple times won't do anything. It looks like they do have something. It could be a Colligan's Command. No, we want to keep Blessed Alliance. No, we don't want to transform. So we're going to attack with both of these guys. And then whatever instant they play as a removal spell, we're going to counter with Bant Charm. Interesting. So they actually can't flash anything back, so we're just going to exile this. Do they have another Snapcaster? Okay, they have another Snapcaster. So they go to 1. They now can't use Fetch Lands. They can't use Thoughtseize. They can't really attack with Gurmag Angler unless they have another effect. Blessed Alliance gets discarded. That's fine. This is the position we want to force the game to end up at, where we have an Azcanta. The opponent is not really doing a lot. They might have a creature that we can somewhat ignore. Relic of Progenitus, we are going to put in the graveyard. I don't think we want to exile our graveyard to get theirs. We're going to look for something to get the Saproling through. Actually, Burst Lightning is just fine. We're going to go for that. Okay, yeah. So they don't have anything for that. So that's how we want the game to play out. They did have Snapcaster. I still don't want Electrolyze. I don't actually know that I want Relics. Like, we had them in the deck and they didn't do anything. Timely Reinforcements will not gain us life, but it might make creatures, which would let us do what we were doing that game, which is to just pressure their life total. I'll bring in 2 Timelies. And it's possible that we want Electrolyze as a multicolor burn spell we can demand for. But I think if we're at that point of the game, Keranos or Assemble the Legion is going to be stronger. So this hand only has 2 colors of mana, but it has a draw spell and a filtering spell. So it's good enough. He's probably going to make us discard the Search for Azcanta. But then we can Serum Visions to find something else. Yep, so here's a Thoughtseize. Note that I would rather have a cantrip in my hand than a removal spell. The cantrip is not a guaranteed shot at a removal spell, but it does let us sort of dodge Thoughtseize. Like if we had had a Path to Exile in our hand on this turn, he probably would have taken that, and then we would have trouble with an early Death Shadow or even a Snapcaster applying pressure. So I want one of these. I definitely don't want the other one. So we will get to cast a Search for Azcanta next turn. Unless the opponent Thought Scours us, which I think is very unlikely. As far as I am aware, most builds of Death Shadow don't even run Thought Scour main deck anymore. Okay, so they can take probably Timely Reinforcements. Maybe Serum. Okay, yeah, they do take Timely Reinforcements. So then we'll go ahead and slam this Azcanta. Opponent's probably a little tilted, but not that much. It's not a huge advantage for a while yet. This is the turn where I'm expecting them to play a threat, so I would like to find a removal spell off of all of our card filtering. Okay, opponent is really on the Thoughtseize plan, which is not actually that effective unless they can play some kind of threat. So this looks like a Death Shadow. Okay. So we want to find a Path to Exile. Blessed Alliance would also be acceptable. Anything else, we're in some trouble. Blind Obedience, I don't think we have time for. Keranos, we don't have time for. Supreme Verdict is a yes. 6, so we can mill. So we have to play this untapped so that we can flip Azcanta without milling our Supreme Verdict. Okay, they do have Thought Scour. So they're targeting themselves. We don't need to opt yet. So if they Thoughtseize us, we're going to let that happen. If they Inquisition us, we're going to opt into Supreme Verdict. We're also going to opt at end of turn if they just attack and pass. We need to hit that 4th land for Supreme Verdict. Azcanta will do it if it flips, which I'm expecting it to do. My preference here is for them to play another threat. Gurmag Angler, Death Shadow, whatever. Anything that we can mop up with that Supreme Verdict next turn. We're gonna yes for Muddle the Mixture in the graveyard, yes for Transform. See what our draw step is. Temple Garden is good, we need more mana. And then I'm gonna go ahead and play the Supreme Verdict. Next turn we can't cast Keranos because we don't have a red source. We can Sphinx's Revelation, but I'd rather use that mana to dig with Azcanta. Looks like a Snapcaster. No, Kolaghan's Command. Okay, so they get back Death Shadow, and we discard... Yeah, we discard Keranos. If we had a red source, I would discard the Revelation, because 2 Lightning Bolts is lethal. Oh, Liliana. Okay. Interesting. This is going to be more difficult to beat than the Death Shadow. And then, so we discarded both of them anyway. I'm going to go get a mountain. And then I think we want to tap like this. Okay. So we got punished for that. I was hoping to find a removal, like a burn spell. And Burst Lightning is still in our deck. And then they play the Death Shadow. If we can find Assemble the Legions or Teferi's Moat here, we're still doing pretty well. We are in some trouble, more because of the Liliana than the Death Shadow. So the only one of these that does anything is the Opt, because Liliana will make us discard next turn. Bottom that. Okay. So that keeps the Liliana from alting. So now our concern is the Death Shadow. Second Death Shadow. Supreme Verdict still helps here. Supreme Verdict is the only thing that's really going to help here. Actually, Teferi's Moat will still work. We're going to cast this. We're going to take counters off of Liliana. Elixir doesn't do it, Path doesn't do it, Supply Demand doesn't do it. Okay, so that was closer. Let's go ahead and run one more. A lot of the losses we're getting are because I'm rusty on this deck. So this guy wants to jump back in for a rematch. We'll keep this. As again, he'll probably take away the search for Azcanta with a Thoughtseize or Inquisition. With the expectation we will not have a search for Azcanta, I'm going to use Serum Visions this turn, and then we can fetch a tap land next turn. Top and bottom. So the land that I want to fetch right here is Sacred Foundry. I can't do that with Misty. We're going to have to get, I think, Steam Vents. I guess we can get Stomping Ground if we don't care about casting Muddles. Yeah, so the search for Azcanta goes away. And we'll pass and hold Muddle up. I'm actually going to counter this so that he can't lose 2 life. And then that means we have to decide what other color we want. And I think it is white. And I'm aware that he has a fetch, so he can go under 13. But there's a big difference between a 3/3 Death Shadow and a 5/5. And this also protects our hand. He doesn't know about the Supreme Verdict. Gonna need to draw lands. Any land we find lets us muddle for another search for Azcanta at this point. So he can play a 3/3 Death Shadow. He can play a 5/5 Gurmag Angler. We've drawn quite a few of our clunkier cards. Like we have 2 5-drop threats and 2 expensive draw spells, and we've drawn half of those. So Inquisition here, we'll take either of these. We don't really care about those. Muddle would have found Azcanta, but I don't think that we're going to win this game if we don't naturally draw land drops anyway. This looks like he's casting a Delve threat. Okay, so Tasigur. I prefer Tasigur over Gurmag Angler. And I think at this point we just lose the game. Yeah, he can activate Tasigurs. I'll give him back Inquisitions because we don't care about anything on our hand that Inquisition hits. But just the 4/5 is going to be too much. Okay, so we found this, which will go and get us Sacred Foundry is what my thought. Our only shot here is to clear a couple guys with Supreme Verdict and then resolve Keranos. Yeah, we give him Inquisition. If he casts Inquisition, we're going to negate it. Yep, still don't know about Supreme Verdict. So do I want to pay 2 life for 1 of his life? And I think yes, because Lightning Bolt is still in the deck. So we're going to get Sacred Foundry, untapped, go to 10. And then when the Extort trigger resolves, we're going to go back up to 11. He's going to go to 5. So now we have all of the colors for Supreme Verdict. We just need to pay the generic cost with any land. We do have Raging Ravine and Lumbering Falls, which are tapped lands, which will not let us Supreme Verdict. Okay. So in his upkeep, we're going to path. Or if he Culligans commands here, we're going to path. Yeah, return to hand, discard a card. And I think we discard Revelation here. So they have a Death Shadow, which is immediately lethal. So we do need to hit either another removal spell or a land for Supreme Verdict. Yeah, we just drew too much expensive stuff this game. So we're going to cut the Fire Mind's Foresight, cut Revelry, Modin, negate out, Timely's in. I'm split on Sprout Swarm. I do want Blessed Alliances. Maybe we want Electrolyze just to pressure their face. So I'm going to take out Sprout Swarm out, And either a muddle or an elixir. Yeah, we're not going long enough for elixir to matter. I thought we might be last time, but no. Okay, so we have 3 lands this time. We do have an expensive spell, but we have an opt. So when he makes us discard from this hand, it's certainly going to be Path to Exile. Because we took Elixir out, there's a very, very slim possibility that all of our win conditions get removed, but I think that's unlikely. Interesting. So he doesn't take Path to Exile. I think that means he has a second discard spell, possibly even a third. So my expectation here is he'll fetch, shock, Thoughtseize, and then maybe also another Inquisition or Thoughtseize. He might just play a Death Shadow, but I don't think he will because he'll see that we have 2 removal spells. So Inquisition is fine. Takes the Alliance. So it looks like he's going to tap for a Death Shadow here and cycle a Street Wraith maybe. Just nothing. If he's doing nothing, I'm happy with that. I'm going to fetch a tapped land here to give us all of our colors. And then I'm going to play an Opt, and if he wants to Stubborn Denial this Opt while I'm tapped out, I'm actually happy with that. So we're going to pass again. This Timely is probably not going to do anything. But if we get to a situation where we want it, we're going to want it pretty badly. It's going to be like last game where he had multiple giant monsters, and Timely will buy us a turn. So he's at 11. Snapcaster on a draw spell is my guess. If he flashes back Thought Scour here, Thoughtseize. Okay. So he's just going to take the Timely, and then we'll path him. Really? So we're going to go ahead and use the Timely and make some soldiers. If we draw another land, I might Path to Exile one of my own soldiers if he doesn't play a large threat. Oh, sure, yeah. So that's interesting. So because we played him the last round, he knew that we were planning on using 1/1 creatures. So he traded 1 for 1 with the Staticaster, but we're not going to use our supply and demands to make creatures at this point. So we have a thought. We can path the Snapcaster right now and not have to worry about taking any damage from it. But if he has a Gurmag Angler or a Death Shadow, we're in trouble. Or we can try and hit another land drop to block the Snapcaster with the Lumbering Falls. And that is my preference. Note that Stubborn Denial will not counter Keranos. So if we hit the land for that, we can cast it pretty safely. He might have Disdainful Stroke. I don't expect him to have Mana Leak or anything. So we'll go for this and see if he does have Mana Leak or a similar effect. Okay, so there's Stubborn Denial. And land. Unfortunate. So let's draw. We don't need any more lands. So we are dead if all we can do next turn is no, it's we can block with Lumbering Falls. Okay. So we're going to go to 6 here. He could Kolaghan's Command us and put us at 4 and make us discard Keranos, and then we're dead. Bottom top. We might want more Supreme Verdicts in this deck. We have 2. Teferi's Moat still would have been good. Really? That almost has to be a misclick. I don't think he would do that on purpose. So yeah, in his upkeep, we will Bant Charm the Gurmag Angler. And if he has something for this, we're dead. Okay. Okay. He discards Tassiger, which is interesting. I would have played that. We don't have a blocker. Staticaster can't hit players, so I'm going to go ahead and fetch a Plains before we draw here. Yeah, I'm not sure if he misclicked or if he thought we had something else when he didn't attack. We didn't have. No, we did. We had enough mana to Blessed Alliance, block the Snapcaster with Lumbering Falls, Blessed Alliance after to kill the Gurmag Angler. Okay, he got me. Alright, so we see some of the problems that the deck has. Let's go ahead and adapt for the Grixis Death Shadow match, since that's a common deck. We took the negate out a lot, even against the decks where there was interesting stuff going on. We might not want Firemind's Foresight. We never transmuted a Muddle the Mixture, so I'm going to take those out. We did use 1/1, so I'm going to leave... Actually, yeah, Sprout Swarm plus Blind Obedience Extorting is one way we can beat the Death Shadow matchup. So I'm going to leave that in for now. We didn't actually get to play against any of the decks that the deck is designed to work against, which is other control decks and creature decks. We were short on lands a couple times, but not really colors. So I'm going to add a Lighthouse. Let's try a different counter spell. And then we have one slot open. I'm going to say that the one slot is a flex slot. I'm going to move a Blessed Alliance in, and then sideboard another Ancient Grudge. And that will be the deck. So here is the sideboard, if you can take a look at that. Here is the deck. We've got one more Wooded Foothills down here. You can take a look at that. Thank you for watching. I will be making more video content in the next week or two, hopefully. So if you would like to see that, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it.